Tonight, we debate the debate. We're going to look beyond the Trump phenomenon and ask whether the GOP is really offering voters anything new. The debate was messy, but we still had winners and losers. We're going to discuss that and try to figure out whether there's a better way to do this. Also, a plan to crack down on Albany corruption that's so simple it might actually work. Maybe. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman in for Richard French. Last night's debate drew record numbers for CNN. Close to 23 million people tuned in. Now, we're going to look at this thing from every angle. A bit later, we're going to talk winners and losers. We're also going to try to give the GOP a helping hand by giving it some ideas on how to make these things a little less messy next time. We're also going to look at Carly Fiorina and whether she could be Hillary Clinton's biggest threat. But of course, it's been the summer of Trump, so we start with Donald Trump.
We have a country where to assimilate, you have to speak English. And I think that where he was and the way it came out didn't sound right to me. We have to have assimilation. To have a country, we have to have assimilation. I'm not the first one to say this, Dana. We've had many people over the years, for many, many years, saying the same thing. This is a country where we speak English, not Spanish.
Now, Trump got the most airtime and was certainly the focus of the majority of the questions asked to the other candidates. But while everybody this summer has been blinded by the light coming off the comb-over, last night I had something of a sobering realization. The other guys on the stage aren't offering anything new. All night I heard one policy idea that I hadn't heard before, and that was from Ben Carson and his idea for 2 minimum wages, one for teens and young people and another one for everybody else. As for the rest, we need strength, build up the military, defund Planned Parenthood, build a border wall, yada, yada, yada. And it had me yelling at the TV last night, so here to try to talk me off the ledge or maybe push me over it is tonight's panel. Richard Brodsky is a former Democratic New York State Assemblyman, now a senior fellow at Demos and a professor at NYU.
Jump.
Thank you very much.
I'll catch you.
Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Republican strategist Bill O'Reilly is with us as well, and Scott Vanderhoff, an attorney and a former Rockland County executive.
I didn't mean it.
Thank you so much. So, Scott, Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, Eisenhower, and these guys last night. I didn't hear anything new from them last night that we haven't heard before. Is this where you want your party right now?
Well, no, but I don't agree with you. There were things in there that were, and you had to listen. You can't, not the boisterousness, but the actual what people were saying. Carly, what's her name? Fiorina actually had a specific series of ideas with respect to Russia, and I thought they were quite on point and very much telling about how she's going to be approaching foreign policy. So it was messy. It was way too long, except that it did allow each of them to have a chance. But I do think that they had some shots in there. Once you got past the personal stuff and the pointing and the faces and that kind of thing, there were issues in there that I think that'll come out later.
But Bill, I heard Fiorina talking about how to deal with Putin, and it was put missiles in Poland and build up the numbers of our military and add to the Sixth Fleet, even though it's already enormous. To me, that felt like it was just more military and pushing us closer to war, and that we've heard before.
Well, debates are really not where you roll out new policy. Debates are you have a very limited amount of time to get a very tight message out, and there's a lot of pressure, and you try and you coach yourself to get those very few things out. You don't introduce new ideas typically in a debate. You could do it, it might be a good strategy, but that's not usually what people try and do in debates.
Richard, I'm saving you for my cleanup hitter. Dominic, I saw you nodding your head. You agree with?
No, I agree with what's been articulated so far tonight. A debate, I'm going to give you the other side of this. I don't mean this in an offensive way, but do you think you're looking at a debate for new ideas?
I was hoping.
Networks do debates for ratings. They're hoping, especially with Donald Trump, it's not about, I heard a couple of new ideas. You have to listen and it was way too long, and the moderator lost total control because he was trying to play the Trump on everything. And everybody else screaming for fair and equal time, but you're not gonna. Are you waving your hand at me?
It was great fun.
Oh, okay.
Look, the first thing it did was it gave everybody a glimpse of the character and temperaments involved. Perfectly legitimate thing to do. Then it turned to ideas, and that's where it sort of broke down. And it didn't break down because Carly Fiorina didn't have enough divisions in Poland. It broke down because there's, with one or two exceptions, there's a consensus in the Republican Party. Anti-abortion, anti-immigration, anti-Obama, pro-military, and cut taxes for the rich. Now, if that's all they're going to offer, how many details you put out doesn't matter. The one guy who stood out to me was Rand Paul. He has a principled objection.
Serious?
He has a principled.
You have a better chance of being elected president than Rand Paul. Are you serious?
No, you do. That's how bad it is.
No. If I'm running, I'm going to win.
But Richard, it sounds like you're saying that you're agreeing with me that there wasn't a whole lot new that we got off the podium last night.
And the reason is that the electorate is constricting the candidates. The Republican primary electorate doesn't want to hear minimum wage. It doesn't want to hear negotiation. It doesn't want to hear abortion for a woman who's been raped. They have a catechism, a list of things that you must toe the line on. And these relatively intelligent people are constricted by the voters.
I think, though, and Richard said something important about the interaction among them in the beginning where you get to see their personalities a little bit, I think the one thing, for all his faults that Trump will bring to this, he may break up the staid format of the primary, where people are looking for something else also. They're looking to see what the person's like. They're looking more than the answers. I mean, you go in there and you rattle off all the talking points to hit the right points, but they're also looking to take a little glimpse at your soul.
Well, but that's true, but I don't understand your comment, nor Richard's. I mean, there were policy issues.
I'm not the only one.
No, and there are policy differences on a number of these issues as well. And the problem is you have 3 minutes to get it out, and you can't. So you end up, I mean, Trump showed his true colors. When it came to foreign policy, he shut up, sat down, and didn't say a thing. He doesn't know what he's doing. And you know what? Pataki called him out in the first debate, which I thought was terrific. Of course, Trump got very upset with that and then went after Pataki in the main debate. But I don't agree with you, Andrew. I mean, the issue with Russia is a lot bigger than an issue of war, no war. Putin is dangerous. Russia is dangerous, and you need to fight fire with fire. And she was the only one who came out and said, "Here's what I do," even if you disagree with it.
And she's talked about those things before. She's
This primary and the general election will not be decided by one's attitude towards Putin. It'll be decided by one's economic policies and one's fundamental social attitudes. And there is almost unity, with the exception of Rand Paul. The guy who had the most at stake, from my point of view, was Jeb Bush, since he had been the front runner and had collapsed. I thought he was sort of pretty good, but I don't know that pretty good solved his problem.
I completely agree. I think Jeb could have finished his candidacy last night with a really terrible performance. And in the first hour, I thought, uh-oh, Jeb's really in trouble. And then he seemed to put it together a little bit.
Well, can maybe, Andrew, I'll ask you, I'll put it out to the table. The one thing that I saw consistently in the debate, and Jeb Bush, bless his heart, he finally showed that he has a little bit of life. And I thought it was great when he put Trump on the spot about apologize to my wife. But then even Trump admitted this morning that he was surprised that Jeb Bush backed up from it. He should have hammered it home for a little bit. But here's my question to you and to the table. Why does it seem like Trump, to me, Trump is confirming everything about politics, not you, about politicians, about when it comes to money? Because it seems like they're truly not afraid of his base. It seems like they're afraid of him. Am I the only one that? It just seems like they're afraid to take him on.
But he did something. You ever watch his movements? He would lean over the podium. He would stare at the people who were talking in an intimidation.
With those dumb looks.
Yeah, and then he went through all of that too.
What's so dumb?
It's more of a mushroom
It's an
look.
intimidation. I mean, he personally wants to intimidate.
So it works.
Sure, it does.
I'm sure it works better in a boardroom. I don't know if it works.
Can I go back to your point when talking about people looking for character issues? If you go back to that Bush 43 Gore debate, Gore won that debate by any on points by any measure, but Bush came out the winner because Gore showed a meanness in it. And I think when you see Jeb Bush up there looking like he's not great at being mean, but he looks like a fundamentally decent person.
Well,
I think people look for that.
There was some meanness on display on the stage last night, and we're going to get to the winners and losers in just a second. But first, we want to hear from you at home. Head over to Facebook or Twitter. Sound off on today's question. Who do you think won last night's debate? And that's what we've got next for the panel. They're going to come back with their winners and losers right after this.